Good morning to our fifth graders. We now have our video for packet number 2. Packet number 2 will run from April 6th all the way through April 17th. For the reading portion, we have about 10 Achieve articles that will be covered in packet number 2, as well as a writing prompt. If you look here for the writing, that will be a video that I'll be uploading next week. So please don't work on the writing part just yet. What I want to get you set up for is completing the 10 lessons that you'll have to do for Achieve. And just so you all know, week 3, which is this week, April 6th through April 10th. Week 4 will be the 13th through the 17th. So you all have essentially about an article a day, unless you want to complete the Achieve articles this week. So then next week, you're just left with completing the FSA writing prompt. So for next week, my sole focus will be modeling introduction, body paragraph, and conclusion for you all as you work through the informative essay. So please, if you would like, just save this activity for next week and wait for my video to provide additional support for how to complete that. For the purpose of this video, we'll just be working and reviewing the steps for the Achieve articles, which there are 10 articles that you'll be working on. So the 5 steps that you will need to follow for the Achieve articles are step 1, the before the reading poll. And I do want to preface that in regards to these 5 steps, students, you all have been working on this all since you started 3rd grade. So you all know that when you began Achieve 3000 back in 3rd grade, you all had a reading poll, you had the article as well as the activity, the after reading poll, and the thought question that's at the end. So these 5 steps have not changed, except now you're obviously seeing them in paper format. So the step 1, the before reading poll, this is just to activate prior knowledge, get you thinking about the topic that the article will be discussing. Next, during the read article, expectations are that as you read, you are making annotations of key information, as well as any words that you may need to look up to find additional information about what those words may mean. Step 3 is the actual activity, and this is where you're answering questions, and the expectation during this time is that you're annotating the questions, you're identifying the purpose for the question, and you're identifying evidence that's located in the article to be able to answer the questions. Step 4 is the after reading poll. This is connected to the before reading poll. It's the same in regards to the before reading poll is really activating prior knowledge. You really haven't read the article yet, but you're still selecting an option, whereas in the after reading poll, you may have changed your mind now that you have additional information and now that you've actually gone through the article and read it. And lastly, step 5 is the thought question, which is the written response. And I'll be modeling just some sentence starters that you will be able to use to respond to the thought question. So for the before reading poll, as you can see here, it's already been labeled in your packet, and each article has all of the steps that are labeled on there for you. So for the first article that you'll be covering for reading is titled Ancient Lines in the Sand. So as you engage in this article, you want to respond to whether or not you agree or disagree to the before reading poll. And this is a step that you'll continue on and do for all 10 articles in total. So all 10 articles that are listed in your packet will have this before reading poll where you'll just ponder upon, do you agree or disagree with the statement that is listed on here? And of course, each article will have a different statement that you'll either agree or disagree with. For step 2, which is the article, this is where I want you all to be annotating the text. where I want you to be circling words that you may not know. Something very important that we do that this article also doesn't have listed for you is to label the paragraphs. I want you to go through during reading, and as you go through the articles, make sure that you number your paragraphs. Therefore, when you get into responding to the questions, you're able to identify where you located evidence for that question. So once again, this covers step 1 and step 2. For step 3, which is the actual activity, you're going through and you're reading each of the questions. The expectation is, and this is something that we've been doing in class all year, is that as you're reading the question, you're identifying what your purpose for reading is. And anytime that you're reading the question, you're also annotating the important parts of the question. So for example, question 1 for Article 1 states, based on the article, which best replaces the question mark in the diagram above? So I know that what I'm trying to answer is which of the following answer options best replaces the question in the diagram above. Now I know that the diagram above is asking me about main idea. Therefore, I'm going to circle this because I know that my answer choice needs to be the main idea of this article. So as you go through these questions, I want you to make sure that you're using your X and B strategy. And just a reminder for our students, we always use the X and B strategy as a test-taking strategy, as well as to assist us with eliminating answers that we know are incorrect. So as you read each answer choice, you'll either draw an X if you know for certain it was not something that was listed in the article, and MB if it's a maybe option. Is this a possible answer? So you want to make sure that you're labeling the X and B at the end of each answer choice. And then once you've gone through each of the answer choices, I want you, for any of your MB ones, I want you to go back into the article, find and locate that evidence, and then come back. And once you make your best selection for the answer choice, whether in this case for number 1, our answer choice will be D. But before that, you would have already gone through and done your X's and your MBs. But what I want you to come back and do for your MBs is actually write the location of where you found the article. So for example, if for this answer was D, you may come back and write that you located the information, and you would write what paragraph number. Ms. Gomez is going to try to write paragraph on here. As you can see me writing, but obviously for you would be a little faster because you would have your pencils on you. And you would write the paragraph number as well as the sentence number of where you located your evidence. And this is what I want you to go through and be doing as you go through all of these packet questions for 5th grade. Now, I did include some questions here on this side that I want you to be thinking about, especially when you're responding to questions. So the first one is, what's the question asking me to do? And what evidence is provided in the article? So specifically for question number 1, we've already identified what the question is having me do. The question is having me find and locate what the main idea of the article is. And I already know that I have to go through these answer choices, and my answer choice has to be the main idea because then there are these details listed below it that support this main idea. The next question that I want you to be thinking about is, what evidence is provided in the article? And that is where you're going to go through and record the paragraph number as well as the sentence number. And this is something that you all have already been doing in Ms. Sarva's class, so we just want to continue the work that you all have already been doing. For step 4 and step 5, step 4, as you see on here, we have the after reading poll. So this is a step that you complete once you've gone through and completed step 1 through 3. So we want to make sure that you're saving this until the end. And as you can see here, this is something that's connected to the pre-reading poll because once again, you have to come back and agree and disagree with the statement. But this time, you have additional information as well as evidence to base your response on. Once you complete that, you move on to step 5, which is your thought question. And have a special slide just for step 5 on here. So for step 5, our prompt that is listed on here is list 3. So you know you need to have at least 3 or more characteristics that make Nazca Lines an interesting attraction to visit and or study in southern Peru. So I know based off of this prompt, I need to circle 3 because it's asking me for 3 characteristics or more, of course, that make Nazca Lines. So I know that right there is my topic. And I'm writing about what characteristics make it an interesting attraction to visit or study. So why do people want to study Nazca Lines? And why would people want to visit Nazca Lines? And according to the article, they've given us a variety of characteristics on why this is so. So in your writing response, you're going to include facts and details from the article to respond to this written portion here. Now, what Ms. Gomez has done is listed on here some sentence starters that you all may use. And I want you all to know that the sentence starters that Ms. Gomez has developed here all come from the prompt. So for example, my first sentence starter states, Nazca Lines is an interesting attraction to visit in southern Peru because. This is a sentence starter directly stated from our prompt. So I know Nazca Lines is an interesting attraction, but I have to tell my reader why based on the information that I read in the article. Now, my next sentence starter is an actual opportunity where I'm going in and including some of those facts and details the same way it's been stated in the prompt. So I know here, according to the article, Nazca Lines is, and this is an opportunity for me to go ahead and either paraphrase and or include a direct quote coming from the article. Now, if you're not going to paraphrase and write in your own words, remember that anytime that you're taking information from the article, you must include quotation marks because that allows the reader to know that you're giving credit to the article and to the author from where you've gotten this information. So make sure anytime that you're copying from the text that you are putting it in quotation marks. And this is something that we have worked on during the school year as well in Ms. Sarva's class. The next part of the question says, explain why some of these characteristics have left researchers with questions. So if you see here in the prompt, I've also included a sentence starter that addresses this part, which is right here. This has left researchers with questions since, and then this is where I would include my thoughts on there. And because this prompt is asking about multitude of characteristics, I've gone ahead and included a transition word on here to allow my reader to know that I'm adding additional information from the article in regards to characteristics on Nazca Lines. So for example, on here, I've included furthermore, Nazca Lines is an educational attraction to study in southern Peru because, and this is where you would state your thoughts on here. And then of course, you have to include facts and details. The author states that and make sure that it connects to why it's an educational attraction to study because of course, the evidence that you provide needs to support this point on here. And lastly, this characteristic has left researchers with questions because, and you want to go back and address this portion in the short response. So once again, you will complete step 5 for each of the lessons that you complete for Achieve. And remember that step 5, you want to practice all of the tools that you've been equipped with as you worked through writing in Ms. Sarva's class. So my biggest encouragement for you all is to make sure that you're restating the prompt, which is what I've done here through my topic sentence. Make sure that you're including evidence and details from the article. And lastly, you're answering that third part of the question that's listed on there on why researchers still have questions. So why have these researchers been left with questions about visiting and or studying NASCA lines. So once again, please make sure to complete this and utilize these sentence starters as you work through the packet. And this concludes all of the 5 steps that you all will be going through as you read through the Achieve articles. And just a reminder, you do have 2 weeks to complete the 10 articles that listed on here. So there are 5 days in the week this week and 5 days in the week next week. So that allows for you to complete at least 1 Achieve article a day. But keep in mind that next week I'll be coming back and completing a recording just on the writing portion for the informative essay. So what Ms. Gomez will be doing again is modeling each parts of those essays. So if you want to get a head start and go ahead and begin reading those articles so that when Ms. Gomez releases the recording, you're able to follow along with her as she completes her introduction, body paragraphs, and conclusions as the model. We're here to support your students. We miss you. Know that you're loved dearly, and we can't wait to be rejoined with you all because we dearly miss all of our 5th graders. So once again, if you need assistance, please feel free to either contact Ms. Sarvis or Ms. Gomez. And my email is esparzaj@duvalschools.org. And also to our families that may be watching from home or from their phones, know that we are available here at the school. You're able to call us from 8 to 3 if your child needs additional assistance with completing these packets. Until next time.